little bit of organization, like 20 minutes today, is going to save you when it comes to your tax time. Are you ready? Let's do it. Welcome to the Sunlight Tax Podcast. In this show, we're talking about taxes, money, and careers for self-employed people who have a big vision for changing the world with their work. I'm your host, Hannah Cole, artist, design nerd, tax pro, author of Taxes for Humans, and the founder of Sunlight Tax. If you're a creative, wellness, or mission-driven entrepreneur who wants to grow your business sustainably, manage your taxes, and build a stash of fuck you money so you can control your time and have a bigger impact with your work, you are in the right place. Hello, Happy New Year. I am so excited to be back with you, and January is a huge year when it comes to setting up for your taxes. So on today's episode, I want to give you something super helpful that's going to help your whole year go better when it comes to your taxes, because setting up right in January is going to save your bacon when it comes to filing taxes in April or even potentially October. All right, so let me just paint a scenario for you. Let's say you are like me 15 years ago, right? You are maybe working on your small business and it's growing, but you are getting really busy. And so sometimes the admin stuff falls away because it's not a client who needs something urgently, right? And so maybe you lose track of some of your receipts, right? Maybe some of your tax documents get misplaced. Maybe you never recorded your mileage for your car, even though you definitely did do some business trips, right? Well, if that's all true, then when it comes to that moment where you have to file your taxes, and you have to, that moment is coming, what does it look like? Well, if you're like me 15 years ago, what that looks like is you in a complete panic, searching every pile of papers in the house for that missing tax document, going through every wallet, every purse, every coat pocket to see if you can find that receipt that you're missing. Maybe you missed filing 1099s for people that you paid to do some service in your business. And maybe you know that you're entitled to get a big mileage deduction, but you miss it because you didn't realize you needed to also have your total mileage for the year written into your tax records. This is a horrible thing. It's so stressful. And believe me, I have been there. So on today's episode, I'm going to help you prevent that from happening, because a little bit of organization, like 20 minutes today, is going to save you when it comes to your tax time. Are you ready? Let's do it. Okay. So some simple things that you can do to make your tax time really smooth and really easy this year. Let's hit it. First, record your odometer, right? We are as close right now to January 1st as you're ever going to be this year. So right now, I want you to go out and record your odometer. You can put down the number in a notebook, in your notes app, on your phone, take a picture of it, all of the above. Any of those will do. You just want to note what the mileage on your car is now, okay? The reason for this is because in order to take a business mileage deduction, and I'm happy to link to a mileage episode in the show notes. I've done episodes on business mileage before, so you can go click in the show notes and bone up on mileage, business mileage. But one of the things you need to know is not only do you need to track the actual mileage you did for business trips, you also have to have a total mileage number. This is how you get to use your personal car for business trips, and they're still deductible, because what you're showing the IRS basically is, yes, my total mileage was X, my business mileage was Y, a smaller subset of X, right? See what I mean? So in other words, you're proving to the IRS, I am aware that not every mile I drove in this car was a business trip, and here's the total, but that business mileage is a smaller number. Okay, so this is why you always want to record your mileage January 1st every year, or as close to January 1st as you can get, because what it does for you is a double duty. You get an ending mileage for last year's total, and you start your beginning mileage for this year. So if you just put it in your calendar, set a little calendar alarm for every single year, what happens is you will always be able to calculate what your total mileage for that tax year was. Boom, done. So make note of that. It is like a 5-minute task, and most of the task is just getting yourself to your car. Okay, so definitely do that. So what you want to do after mileage is create a place to keep your tax documents, okay? Now, when I'm saying tax documents, here we're talking about collecting the tax documents for 2025, which is the tax return you're going to be preparing between now, January 2026, and April 15th, 2026, okay? So you want a paper one and a digital one, all right? So you're going to create a 2025 paper tax file. So hopefully this is just like in a filing cabinet, just a new folder. And you're also going to create one in your inbox, right? So more and more, you have opt-in options to receive your tax documents over email, right? Save some trees, but it's also easier to miss them this way. So it's very important that you are alert to this happening and you actually create that folder, that tax documents folder in your inbox to be able to always have a place to put them so you don't end up missing one when you're actually doing your taxes. So right now, I want you to go in your inbox and label a folder 2025 tax documents, okay? Now, when you start getting 2025 1099s, W-2s potentially, etc., you have a folder in your inbox to stick them into. And that is your new religion. I want you to make sure that as those start coming in by the middle of January, you're going to have a place to put them. Okay? Now, you also want to make sure you have a hanging folder, a physical folder, because you are also going to have documents mailed to your mailing address, okay? So you're going to be getting tax documents in the mail and you want to have religion about where you're going to put them. I recommend a hanging file folder, but it could also be like your sock drawer or the top drawer of your desk. Just designate a place right now that's going to be the place that you put your tax documents when they come in the mail. And I want you every single day when the mail comes or when you sort through 3 days of mail, you always take out those important tax document envelopes and you stick them in that designated place. This way, you know that you're never going to miss an important tax document that you're going to need at tax time. This will prevent that scrambling. Okay. Now, if you moved this year, little tip is that I want you to check in with anybody who you worked for, that your address on file is correct. This is a headache that you can prevent for yourself because they're about to start sending 1099s out to you and they are simultaneously sending a copy to the IRS. And I want you to be aware that the IRS is going to get its copy, but if you moved, you might miss yours, okay? So this is a really unpleasant situation when you get that letter from the IRS that says, you didn't report this 1099, you owe us money. Okay, you don't want that to happen. So make sure if you worked for anybody, you go proactively to them and make sure they have your latest mailing address on file. This is especially true if you moved, and it's especially true if you worked for them before you moved. Okay. Hey, real quick, I just want to pop in and tell you that my book, Taxes for Humans, is available in bookstores now. Taxes for Humans is the funny, empowering, practical tax guide that will help you do your own taxes and make them easier every year. Taxes for Humans is the most useful tax guide you've ever seen. This book gives you all my secrets and will be a reference you use year after year, with a whole section on fixing a bad tax situation, spouses gone rogue, amending your tax return, what to do if you can't pay your tax bill, plus tools for leveling up, like setting up simple systems to stay organized and saving like a millionaire with tax-smart accounts. Get the book at your favorite independent bookstore or come to my website, sunlighttax.com/book. You can even request Taxes for Humans at your local library or college library. So if you want to get the book for yourself, go to sunlighttax.com/book to buy Taxes for Humans. I can't wait to help make your taxes easier. Okay, this month, things that are coming up for you. You're going to need to file any 1099s that you owe, okay? This is a really important thing, and it's important for you to know that 1099s are due by January 31st. And this is something you have to do if you paid anybody over $600 to do work for your business in the course of the year. There are some exceptions if they're a C corporation or an S corporation. So I have some tricks about how to know if somebody has an S corporation or a C corporation, but you should assume if you paid anybody like a product photographer, a website designer, a fabricator to do work for you, that you do owe them a 1099, okay? Assume you do, and then if you can eliminate them off your list of people you owe a 1099, great, okay? All right. So if you are in my program, Money Bootcamp, now would be the time to review the 25-minute 1099s training inside Bootcamp. I will also say that if you're in Bootcamp this coming Friday, I am hosting a live workshop on 1099s. The rules are shifting a little bit in 2026, not dramatically, but just to help prep you for what you need to do. If you PS are feeling like, you know what, Bootcamp seems like a good idea, I will put a link in the show notes to join Bootcamp because yes, January is the best time to join because all of this stuff comes up in January and it's your best moment to set up good systems so you don't miss stuff like sending out your 1099s. All right, so whether or not you want to join Bootcamp, that's fine. But just to make you aware, for those of you who are in my program on Friday, I'm doing a live training on issuing 1099s. So it should be really helpful for you if you are. If not, be aware that you do owe those 1099s by January 31st, and penalties start accruing February 1st. So if you have 1099s you were meant to be sending, but you haven't, you will begin accruing penalties starting February 1st. So you don't want to be late. You want to make sure you put that on your calendar as a deadline, January 31st. People get caught thinking they don't have to send a 1099, and then what happens is you go either to do your own taxes or you go to a tax preparer and you realize that there are 2 questions on your Schedule C about 1099s. The first question is, did you pay anyone over $600 that you might owe a 1099 to? And you have to check yes or no. And then the second question is, and did you issue them the required 1099? And you have to check yes or no. Well, guess what? You are not allowed to file that tax return if you check no, that you did not file that 1099. And if you check that you didn't owe anybody, and then it's discovered that you did, well, now you're caught because now you've lied on federal paperwork, okay? So this is quite a serious issue, and you are on record no matter what you think is happening, okay? So that's my little warning about 1099s. Okay, while we're talking about the calendar, January 15th is your 4th and final tax payment deadline for 2025, all right? If you get your tax return in by January 31st, which is pretty early, most people will struggle to get it done that quickly, especially if you have bookkeeping to do for your small business. But if you do, then you don't have to make that 4th payment. You can pay it with your tax return due January 31st. Most people aren't capable of getting it in that quickly, so I just will warn you, it's best to just assume you need to make that payment on January 15th, all right? And again, if you happen to be in my program, Money Bootcamp, this Wednesday, I am doing my quarterly live session on estimated quarterly taxes. So I will be teaching, as I do every quarter, how estimated quarterly taxes work and how to make the calculation for what you owe and what you need to pay this quarter. So that payment's due January 15th. Whether or not you're in my program, what you want to do is to do your bookkeeping for that final quarter of 2025 and do a calculation of what tax you owe and make sure you get that payment in by the 15th of January. Okay. If you don't have one yet, this tip is just always solid gold, but it's especially wonderful to do at the beginning of the year so that you have a clean year of bookkeeping ahead of you. And that task, if you haven't done it already, is to open a separate business bank account, okay? So ideally, in order to keep your bookkeeping nice and clean and nice and easy, this is something you do for yourself to make your life better. You want to open a separate bank account and have that be the account for your business and never mix it with your personal bank account, okay? So what's important to know is it doesn't actually have to be a, quote, business bank account according to the terms of your bank. It just has to be a separate bank account that you treat as your business bank account. Okay, so technically the bank can call it a personal account. That doesn't matter. The point is the separation. Okay, so you're going to put all your income from your business, from your small business activity into that bank account, and you're going to make all your expenditures from that business. So all your business deductions, everything you pay for to run the business should come out of that account as well. All right. And what that does is this thing of beauty. It creates a paper trail. It creates a record of everything into and out of your business. When you have that, your bookkeeping becomes magically simpler. You don't have groceries and rent mucking up your books and a million personal transactions that threaten to accidentally get counted as a tax deduction that's illegal. It just keeps you out of trouble. Okay, so highly recommend that if you haven't taken that step yet to open a separate bank account for your business activity, definitely do that now. All right, next, let's talk about receipts. All right, so step 2 was we talked about tax documents. Now we're talking about receipts. You want to create both a digital and a paper tax receipt folder for yourself. All right. You want to make a folder in your email labeled your name here, Business Receipts 2026. So this folder, unlike your tax documents, which are for a retroactive year, right? Those are for 2025. Your receipts are for this year. Okay. So your receipts are for 2026. So you want to start a 2026 receipts folder in your inbox. You just label it, business name, 2026 tax receipts. Okay. And then you also want to do that for a physical folder. So if you have a hanging, like a file cabinet, create a new folder there, 2026 business receipts. And that's it. You want to give yourself the habit of always, every single time that you get that confirmation email from Amazon or confirmation email from whatever supplier you're buying supplies for your business for or services, you want to make yourself the habit of putting that email, which is your receipt, into that tax receipts 2026 folder. Okay. Start this habit now. Keep it up all year, and your 2026 taxes, which you do in 2027, will be a breeze. Okay. That is an awesome tip. I hope you take it to heart. My other really golden receipt tracking tip for physical receipts. Now, these are getting less common. I don't know about you. Most of my life is engaged in digitally, even in person. At this point, I rarely carry cash anymore. But for those couple of receipts I do take in physically, here's my advice for you. I want you to always put your receipt, your business receipt, in the front, right? If you have a wallet and you always put a receipt for your business in the front of your little pile of receipts, they will remain in chronological order without you ever sorting them, okay? And if you then, when your wallet gets too full of those receipts and you want to go dump it, you go dump it into that dedicated 2026 tax receipts folder, dump it in the front. So again, without sorting through anything, your receipts will remain in chronological order with you never, ever sorting them at all. Okay. So that simple habit of just put your receipt in front, dump that pile of receipts in the front of the receipt folder. They will stay in chronological order. The good news about receipts is, while you are required to keep them for 7 years, you never have to touch them. Okay. Receipts are for cold storage. They just stay there so that if the IRS says, hey, you know what? This is the year we're going to go look at all your mileage, travel, and meals receipts, right? Then you have them and you can go into that folder and you can pull it out for that year that they ask for, and you've got them all right there. Okay. You might have to sort through which are the travel and meals receipts, but you won't have to go through 4 years of receipts that are not in chronological order and not divided out by year, because the IRS is always going to ask for a specific tax year. So that separate folder is going to save you a lot of headache, okay? Rather than just one shoebox, a folder for every year in chronological order, okay? I hope that tip is really awesome for you and saves you a massive headache. Okay, so I hope that was really helpful. Those are my best tips for you for setting up your year for really easy tax prep and also setting up your systems for 2026 so that everything goes smoothly and you never miss a receipt and you never miss a tax document. All right. If you're realizing, Bootcamp sounds like a place where Hannah's going to walk me through a lot of this stuff, you're right. And I am doing 2 live sessions this week. So the podcast drops on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'm doing a live session on estimated quarterly taxes, which is a Q&A, and you can bring your questions. And on Friday, I'm doing a 1099s workshop. So if you have been thinking about Bootcamp and those 2 live classes this week are inspiring you, new year, new you, to take some action on this stuff, I will put a link in the show notes to join Money Bootcamp. You're certainly always welcome to join me in there, or reach out if you have any questions about the program. I also have a free class that you can watch that walks you through what's in Bootcamp, how it works. And so if you're interested in just taking a look at that, that also has a really great deal where I offer a free one-on-one session with a tax expert. So if you want to join Bootcamp via that video that gives you some great information, kind of walks you through what's inside, and also offers my best deal, that's the free class. And I will also put a link to that in the show notes. All right. No pressure. No one ever has to join Money Bootcamp. I hope whether or not you do, you have benefited from the tips here today. That's what I want for everyone listening, is to make your systems as good as they can be right now in January with just this 20 minutes of tasks that will make the whole year run smoothly. All right? That's my aim for you. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a happy new year, and I will see you next week. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. It really helps. I'm so grateful. My tax guide, Taxes for Humans, is available wherever you buy books and at sunlighttax.com/book. This podcast is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links I reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.